Good evening. It is 7:55 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Wednesday, September 7th, 2022. And coming back for a final look at the trade today. It begged it because we had a personality change after the mid-morning update that I did about 11:30 to 12. I did it during E period, and I want to talk about that. The first thing that we can see is that we had a initiating move out of this these lows down here, out of yesterday's normal day. It is an indication that other time frame has stepped into the house. Okay, so I want to talk about that. First, I want to go back. I need to talk about everything that happened after the mid-morning update that I made sometime between 11:30 and 12 this morning. I still have the drawing where I talked about the measure from the initial balance. Now, bear in mind, this is in ones, okay? That's just to make it a little easier on the eyes, a little easier to digest. And at that time, we had a normal variation day, or we were on the way to almost a normal variation day. Pretty much that's what it was at the time. And we were looking at the stories, and that's what this video is about, is to look at what happened and the trading plan. So first of all, let's clear a couple things off here. Take out the overnight low. That didn't happen. Okay, that just didn't happen. Story 2 didn't happen. Continuation lower, that would have been subsequent to that. That did not happen either. Okay. However, this did happen. We opened in range and value. We had, and I'm just going to review very quickly on this. We had I would say a moderate. We had slightly positive to mixed market internals. The tempo wasn't great, but and the confidence wasn't great, but it was kind of moderate. It made its move to the value area high, as I mentioned earlier, in the first 10 minutes. So the plan here would be to sell the value area high, but remember we didn't build value in it first, and so the odds were lower. However, it would have worked for some. Okay. And I've continually pointed out we do have poor highs above and poor lows below, and be aware of that. All right, so we did get above that. All right, so the next thing would be to move to the prior high of day. This would be the I'm sorry. Let me back up here a minute. I gotta look at the chart if I can see my cursor. Okay. All right, so let me make this bigger here. I still have the proper things on here. So the idea was, if we weren't going to trade in that first story, like rotational, back and forth here in value, maybe a little look above, a little look below, maybe even take the overnight low out and come back in and just rotate in here. The next thing would be we had a huge kind of, I would say, a base yesterday. We had a normal day. The initial balance covered both ends of the spectrum and the wide range. And the other idea was to trade rotational in kind of that range. Now, it doesn't have to just stay under the initial balance of yesterday. It could peak above and come back in, and that's what we were looking at earlier in the E period. And I had made the comment that we'll know more in 45 minutes, okay? But based on the tempo, the market internals, which I have up here now, you can see at the end of the day, just a moment, I think they just popped behind. All right, there we go. The market internals, I don't know what they were. If they were higher than that, then pop down a little bit because we did sort of have some balancing at the very end of the day. 4.7 to 1. So this is pretty strong. It's not the strongest I've seen, but it's almost 5 to 1. Okay, you want to be careful shorting into that, right? That's what that means. The market is on a tear in one direction. It's at some speed. Okay, moving this back out of the way. So again, at this point, we just barely had a normal variation day. Okay, we were balancing. We had an inside bar. I don't remember if we had a poor high at that time or not. I didn't go back and watch the video at this time, but the thought was, well, we had single prints down here, and we might close that. Okay, but beware of shorts and rotational because we do have these single prints. And we've been one time framing up. I talked about that. But if you did get short against the previous high of day, there was a nice move down. Remember, this is in ones. So what does that mean? Let's look at it in terms of in quarters. Okay, so if I go back here, split this off in quarters. I split off a little too short there. All right, gotta make it a little bigger. I think this is actually the chart I was working when I was doing the video because I only had the yellow line on there. So let me merge that. All right, so here's where we were. And gosh, I'm really curious. No, we didn't have a poor high. Now, see, now that's the thing about doing it in different increments. In the ones, we have poor high. And this was, I don't believe the chart. Well, no, I'm not sure which one I was using in the video. It doesn't matter. The point is, we did not have a poor high. We didn't have a great high. There was some pretty good, very sharp, but very, it's tapered off up here, attenuated. And we had this volume here. I believe at the time the VPOC was lower. Because remember, I made that video, and then there was, I think, another 15 minutes left in once I was finished it, something like that. The point is, a short here under the previous high of day, didn't take much heat, and this was a nice move. Let's say somebody got short here at 44, just to make it a nice even number. You could take it down to the open, 34.5. That's 10 points, 9.5 points. You could even gotten more than that. But so another thing that happened or didn't happen, we did not come back to the initial bounce high. This was key going forward to the rest of the day. Okay, so right here, if you can see, I'm going to draw this in here. You can see right here, we have this little area. Let me make it blue. This little area that did not get connected again. So that was a signal. And then G couldn't take out the F low. Now, once G came up and made a poor high with D, it is imperative to recognize that, man, we're out of balance. We are out of balance now. Okay. Now we could continue on and just make the up here. If you don't remember, this is the base of where. Just a moment. Let me pull this in. Or maybe it's not. I thought 39.55 was where we broke down the other day. Let's see here. Let me pull these together. Now we have this day to contend with here. Yeah. All right. See this overnight low, 39.55. Again, this is just to refresh your memory. This is where I'd said, look, anybody above here, I think I've said it in two days now. Anybody above here is going to be underwater once you get there, right? So once we got back above here in, H period started to move in there. Already above yesterday's high, which again, remember this was a big day, like a rounded D side normal day. Here, that's one reason we couldn't pull it in either. This was expanded. This was expanded. This is expanded. All right, makes it a little easier. Okay, bear with me. This is impromptu and unscripted, and I'm just talking it through. All right. So once we get above yesterday's high, okay, we're looking at potentially, it wasn't super strong tempo. It wasn't, it's potential to rotate and fulfill this idea. Inside day, similar to, I already crossed off the inside day because we did already take out the high. But similar to story one, rotating in range and value, this would be trading the edge of the range of yesterday. And but be quick to exit. See, I can't, when I pull the cursor over here, I can't really see it unless I draw. Be quick to exit if it breaks out. So any shorts, you need to be careful on. All right. We looked at, there was some, it wasn't the greatest support, but there was some support for rotational trade. And it gave just about that. I mean, it gave a nice little rotation back down before moving back on up. And now we're out of balance again. Okay. And once we had a poor high here and we broke it, it's pretty. I also mentioned the fact that we had these up here that could get whacked. These swing highs in the overnight. So that was what's going on. And as you're watching these unfold, once the market is out of balance, recognize that we are now going. We take it reference at a time. Okay. So you had these swing highs, this swing high, this swing high, this swing high. And then now we're back into, I'm not going to call this white space, it's not, but like you've got all these single prints, okay? Because now we're above 39.55 here. We're squeezing all these shorts from back on this day, okay? Now, if this is pedantic for you as I'm going through this, bear with me, because I've got, I believe, some good stuff, because most people don't, or most people, and including myself a lot of times, have a hard time getting on board on a day like this. It's like, oh my gosh, it's just turned into a trend day. What do? I can't seem to get on board. Invariably, you're like, oh, I missed the move. Now I'm trying to catch to go short, right? Have you done this dance? You know, ask me how I know, okay? But this move down right here, okay? This move down right here happened rapidly, and it left a lot of single prints and that kind of thing. So now we're out of balance, and here we are in here, right here now. Now we're talking in here, okay? We're out of balance. We are one time framing higher. Don't forget that. And you're starting to think, oh my gosh, what's happening now? Okay, it's starting to move kind of fast. Where do I get in? What do I do? You know, what's happened to the day? We had a change of personality. Now, one clue early on, which I didn't give it a whole lot of credence at the time. Well, no, I'm not even going to talk about that. I was just going to talk about the size of this initial balance. And the fact is, the smaller it is, the easier it is to tip over. I didn't particularly think this was really small, but relative to a lot of them, it was, especially to yesterday. But so scratch that. That's not going to be important right now. But we did have clues that we were going higher. Here's clue. Well, first of all, clue number one was we actually did take out yesterday's high. Okay, that's saying, well, you know, very often we'll make a move in one direction, come back, and then come back again and build value there. All right, but in this case, it was kind of a fake out because it sold off all the way down here. But then this was a very important clue. We didn't close that single prints, right? And then the next clue, G didn't come back and close it either, okay? And G also, now, this was a big clue. Once we started taking out these highs, F, E, and then we had a poor high. Now, I don't remember if it held there for a bit, came back, but this is where you're thinking, all right, either I'm taking this as a breakout, or I'm taking this as some kind of reversion on another chart with moving averages, whatever you use, Donchian channel, I don't care, just some kind of reversion, you know, and then, or against this prior high of day, which also happened to be this overnight VPOC, which now might hold, okay, as we get on the other side of it, okay? So, now it's like, well, now how do I get on board with this, right? Besides breaking out here, well, if you got in right here, fantastic. But you might want to be thinking about taking profits. And again, let's talk about it in terms of a one lot, okay? Let's just keep it real. Once you're out, right? And now I got to find a way back in and do it all over again. So you've got the volume value area high in the overnight. You've got this low right here where everybody, you know that people, once it broke this overnight low, people shorted, right? So was this vigorously defended? You know, you're going to be looking to, like, it's right here at the 100% of the initial balance. It's like, oh, this is possibly where it might turn around. On the other hand, you know, you got these beckoning. You got this swing high, this swing high, this swing high, and you got all that stuff I talked about, the potential for short covering fuel, right? Mention that word fuel. And it would be prudent to get out here. Take your profit, right? That is from 48 to, let's say, 54, okay? That's 6 points. It's not bad. Nice little trade. Let's say you get out there, okay? Now, every time one of these TPOs matches the previous high, you got a poor high. And if you're suspecting there might be short covering, or it's going to go to the next visual reference, because that's the thing about references. They're visual, the markets are visual, and when you're out of balance, it's going to go to the next visual reference, right? And also it's important to kind of note how it gets there. Is it going there rapidly in fits and starts? Is it sluggish? Is it getting defended? All these kinds of things are important information. All right, this turned into a long video, but it'll be worth it in the end, I think. So, at this point, once we've cleared, now this is important. Once we have cleared Get rid of this. Get rid of this. Clean it up a little bit. We don't need this anymore. This was a value area high. Once we cleared this extension of the initial balance, now we're in the trend day zone. Because what's left? You got neutral day, normal variation day, trend day. Okay? Now we're trending. It's obviously going for these highs here. And then what? Remember, you've got all of this. People are rolling up. They're underwater, you know? So they're covering. You've got the R2 up here, which is a pivot. If you don't use pivots, what's it hurt? Put them on your chart and watch how the market behaves going to them. And when it gets there, they have some significance, in my opinion. All right, so how do you get on? All right, let me pull this in. I've talked about this before. I'm bringing in a, well, hang on, let me move this back in here. Okay. Story 5, when we did not rotate and G did not close. Yeah, I forgot we were doing the stories first too. Okay, we did not continue the rotation. This was over, okay? This was done, check, okay? This was done, check. Now we're on to story 4. Remember, this is not in any particular order. You can have them shuffling around, mix and match. Some of them may not happen. None of them may not happen. All of them may happen. They could all happen somehow, okay, to one degree or another. Story 4, move to prior high a day, continue higher. That's what we saw happening once after D, E, and F, and then G came out again, continued higher. So we want to look for volume and value overlapping to higher, buy against the value area high, the prior high a day. This is the strategy. We're looking for one-time framing entries, and this is what I'm going to talk about, okay? Reversions, I just spoke about that. Breakouts, I spoke about that with poor highs. The floor trader, that's this, okay? That's when it comes up above and comes back and finds support on what was once resistance. There you go, okay? Put that in your playbook. So, let's take a look here. Now, remember, positive market internals and buying. The market internals were starting to get, they were growing. They were getting bigger. The green was getting stronger. We don't really care about the open anymore at this point. It didn't trend right off the get-go, okay? It developed. All right, so we were one time framing up ever since way down here, okay? A, B, C, D, E, we stopped one time framing in F, all right? G, well, G made a poor high. We weren't one time framing anymore. But that really was only just one data point. We had been. Sometimes the market takes a break, resets itself, flushes out weaker hands, as it's called. Here is your value, the gray area, okay? All the gray, the light gray is not value. Here is the value from yesterday, down here. We had better than overlapping to higher. Now let's see what it was in G period. Let's see what it looked like. Here was the value area all the way down. Here's the gray from the value area, the prior date. You can see the value area line. It's overlapping to higher, mostly higher. If we don't count G period, you know, either way, we have still got overlapping to higher, even in E period. And in fact, it's significantly, like, it's mostly higher. These are clues. Right? These are clues. What's happening? Are we going to continue higher? Are we going to get continuation? That's what we want to look for, is continuation. Because we're already traded above the prior high of day. That sort of, let us know that, well, it's either going to rotate and we're not coming back up here anymore, or once we do, if we seem to be wanting to come up here, it's probably going higher. Okay, then we took out the normal variation stuff. All right, I'm trying to get to the point here about the one-time framing entries. So, pull in there, 10-minute chart. 10-minute TPOs. These lines are all the same. So, some of these red ones, the darker red, just ignore those. I don't even remember what that is right now. So this is today. Every one of these white vertical lines represents a TPO period. I did not label them today, but A, B, C, D, E. Now, I want to point out some trend days, it is one time framing continually on the 10-minute and continually on the 30-minute. Now, if we stop one time framing on the 10-minute, it does not necessarily mean we stopped one time framing on the 30-minute. So you kind of have to give this a lot of weight when it's one time framing, but when it stops one time framing, you want to check it against the 30-minute because it may not be that significant, okay? So I had spoken about these entries before. When you know that we're one time framing, okay? Now F we had stopped one time framing, but now in G we start one time framing again, okay? And we're above the prior high a day. We have this breakout of the D high right here, right? This is where it became a poor high, okay? So, I hate when it does that. I've spoken about, a lot of times you'll see it stop at the midpoint, and all the little yellow lines represent the midpoint of the 10-minute bar. So if you had put your entry at this, I mean, you could have gotten low on the prior high a day, right? At the G open, it comes down like a spring on a new 30-minute bar. Well, that would have been ideal, but I just want to demonstrate this, okay? Because maybe you didn't get in down here. Maybe you were up here. You're thinking, I really want to be long. I don't want to short it. Doggone it, it's running away without me. Now this is in ones. Let me make it a little bit. Well, I'd have to make my letters different. Shoot. I guess I should do that. Let me do that real quick. Just a moment. All right. Okay. So now you see why I put it in ones. It's a little easier that way. Okay. So you've got the halfway point right here, and you could have gotten long here. Ideally, you'd probably get long against the prior high of day, but obviously it didn't get right down to it. Maybe you missed it. Well, maybe I missed it here. Well, here you go. This was an inside bar. It broke up to the upside. You could have been waiting to get long at the midpoint here, which is incidentally is the midpoint of the prior one. And look what happened. If you put your low, let's see, some crosshairs here. Let's see, you put your, you put your stop. That's 48.75. Where would you put your stop? Maybe below the DE high. 47. It's almost 3 points. You would have had plenty of room. Never got stopped out. All day. Not a bad return. Okay. That's just one example. Here we go. Let's say we missed that one. And then this opens up. We want to get long here on this midpoint. So we get long. We take a little heat. Opens up. Starts to go our way. I don't know exactly how this unfolded, but comes down. Did it stop you out? I don't know. Let's see. This is at 52.75. Where do you want to risk? You want to risk the low of this bar? Do you want to risk a little further back again down on DE? 46.75 to 52.75. That's 6 points. I don't like it, but that might be okay for you. Or maybe you're trading micros. So remember that. Maybe you're trading micros of various shapes and sizes, and this is acceptable risk. Or maybe you stagger your risk or stagger your, you know what I mean? So again, that's not important. How you trade is how you trade. What chances you take is what chances you take. Maybe you're more comfortable with a different kind of entry. But I'm just trying to show you something that works time and again on trend days. So another thing to consider is that you can look at these as their own little poor highs. Okay? When I opens up here, you got a poor high, weak high, whatever you want to call it. Some of these you don't even get back to the midway point. Okay? And then you have, let's see here. Think of another one. So this is another one. Like this J1, it would have been nice for a move, but unless your stop was further away than just this low, you probably got stopped out. But if you did get long at 67, and you put your stop down here below this half point, 62, well, that's 5 points. I don't like that's a lot, but again, however you're doing it, you could have just put it a little bit below this low and not got stopped out, you know. I mean, I'm just throwing you, this is all possibilities, and this is about learning how to get on board in a trend day. And it's slow enough, you can think it through. You can combine it with other indicators, you can combine it with other entry techniques, you can combine it with volume profiles, and you can combine it with even smaller time frame if you like. I don't know. I'm just showing you something that I like. Okay. If you're right on this halfway, you wouldn't have gotten filled, but you might have gotten filled on the next one. So you just waited, and it got you. It took you up. Again, look at the potential, right? So that's let's say you just got up here to 87 from down here, 75. It's 12 points roughly. You know. And that's the last of, I didn't put any more. I mean, here's one, I guess. You could say, you could get at the end. And again, one thing you could have done is if you've been riding two, taking one off, adding one on, you know, you could do that all the way up. Now this takes a long time. Every one of these bars is 10 minutes. It could be grueling, but it's better than sitting here all day shorting it, and it's better than sitting here all day thinking, oh, I'm just terrible, I didn't get in on it. And look how far it went today. I should have known. I should have got in 20 points ago, and I didn't. Maybe I can catch the retracement. I'll short it, you know. All right, well, there you go. Wanted to share that with you. Hope it was helpful. And another thing I want to bring into your attention, I talked about once we're out of balance, we're going to a lot of visual references. This is a weekly profile chart. This is the volume profile on last week. That's the volume point of control. So if you look at this, I think it's pretty interesting, right? Where were we going today? Was it going to get all the way through all this sludge up here? Well, what time of the day did it get up here? Real late. Different things are happening at different times of the day. People are doing different kinds of things. They've been long since down here. Maybe they're starting to scale out of their positions. You know, is the tempo supporting it, pushing higher? One M period it sure didn't. Look what it was doing. It was really balancing 10 minutes after 10 minutes after 10 minutes. It kind of looked like the upside was over. I mean, you don't know it's over till the whole day's over, but this is where it went. And another thing to point out is that we started, and I'm going to split this out. Each one of these represents, I think, just a moment. It's 30 minutes. Each bar is 30 minutes, but what are the increments? I forgot. 8 ticks. They're 2-point increments. Okay, each letter is 2 points. But the fact is, this volume right here is very thin, and we saw why. Because when it traded off down here last week, it came through real fast. Well, a lot of volume wasn't built, and the market will tend to go through those areas again very, very quickly, or it rejected out of there altogether. But when we saw it was clear if you looked at the structure, we were having a short covering rally, and I'm sure some newer buyers and all that kind of stuff going on. So that's where it went to. Very visual reference to look for an exit, you know, up in this area. Maybe this yellow one, that's the TPOC. Okay, I think that's all I got for today. But you know, this one here, this one played out big time, turned into a trend day. So thanks for watching. Make a great evening. Maybe I'll see you tomorrow. I am trying to spend less time in front of the machine today as we're getting towards the later summer. I've got some things to do. I need to take it easy, but I will try to continue to make these videos if anybody's liking them. But I'm doing it for my own. It's my own practice. Okay, so thank you very much. Good night.